Good evening, ladies as well as gentlemen. I'm Papa Boris, and in this video I'm going to play a game of Civilization 6. Well, not a whole game, the first 30 or so minutes of it, and then, of course, we'll continue the playthrough in future videos. Now, normally, if you've been a fan of my channel, you know that my style is just to get right into it and not waste any time talking up front. That being said, for Civ 6, I'm going to make a minor exception because these games take a long time to play, and I want to make sure that people watching this know what they're getting into, because I would hate for you to get like an hour into it and realize you wasted your time because my style of Civ 6 video is not what you were hoping for. There are a lot of people making videos for Civ 6. One of the reasons I'm excited to do it is that I feel like I add something different than what's currently been provided by the Let's Plays. Most of the Let's Plays that have been played right now are very much like a SimCity style of play, where the people will just, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean to like make that sound disparaging or that it's like a bad way to play or anything like that. But it's like a very casual style of play where even if the person is ostensibly trying to make strategic choices or whatever, they'll do things that are contrary to what you would do if you were trying to win. I haven't really seen any play to win videos, video series. And so people will do things like go for a culture victory just because, or go for a science victory just because. Whereas in Civ 6 right now, if you're playing to win, the fastest way to win is to go for domination, and that's pretty much the only meaningful victory condition there. So, while I know some people are gonna, not like this series because I am gonna go for domination so disproportionately, that's just right now the fastest way to win. That's just like the best, most reliable, victory condition to go for if you don't want your games to take 10 goddamn hours. If you want to actually finish in like a 3 to 5 hour time frame, you have to go for domination. So even if people do get annoyed by that, I hope you'll give a few of my games a shot, because this will at least serve as a nice showcase of how you can win relatively quickly following domination. And I won't take any other victory condition out of the equation. It's possible that somebody will come up with some kind of crazy beeline strategy for science, culture, or religion that will allow those victory conditions to compete with the speed of domination. And if that is so, then I would consider playing a game and trying one of those out. I'm also going to be playing on a higher difficulty, so we're going to start with Emperor, and I'm going to move into Immortal on my next one. So I'm not 100% sure I can beat Immortal. I can trounce Emperor, which I'm sure means I'm going to do horribly and lose here, but I can trounce Emperor, so I'm not sure about Immortal yet. We'll try that out. And then maybe someday Deity, if that is possible. I'm also going to make mention of my map type and my map size. Most people will play on Standard and either Continents or Pangea. Sometimes people will turn on the islands just to play as Norway. What I'd like to do here is to ask you an honest question, like, what do you think you gain from the game by having more AI opponents? Like, what is the value to your life that adds? Because it seems like the default thinking in the Civ community is more opponents is better, more opponents is more epic. But if we really think about it, what are the actual benefits? The actual benefits are more people to trade with. You get more competition for great people, more competition for wonders, more competition for religions, and the particular choices for pantheons and the religions, and more competition for city-states, I guess. And so that's it. And that's a pretty decent series of benefits. Like, yes, I'm not, I definitely want to acknowledge that those are real benefits, like having more competition for great people and wonders and all that stuff. But then the drawback is huge. The drawback is the game takes forever. In any game of Civ, we all know there comes that point where you're 100% confident that you're going to win, but then you have to go through the chore of mopping up the game. And so, is it really worth it to have 8 AI opponents compared to having 7 AI opponents as compared to 3? I mean, when you play on a tiny map with 3 opponents, it's just as hard to get to that point, for the most part. In fact, in some ways, playing on a tiny map makes things harder, as we'll see, than playing on a standard size one. So there's extra difficulties that a tiny map adds to kind of compensates for the difficulty it takes away in having fewer competitions for wonders and great people and religion and stuff. And then you get this huge benefit playing on Tiny, which is that you do not have to do that horrible mop-up job where there's like, 4 extra capitals that you have to go conquer, and it takes like 3 hours to do it, even though you already knew you were going to win like hours and hours ago. If you look at some of the other Let's Plays where people do play on, standard-sized continent maps, like these YouTubers will have like a 20 video series, and it's clear by like video 8 that they've won the game. And then like the remaining 5 to 6, 7, 8 hours of gameplay is just like a foregone conclusion where they're just making meaningless decisions and clicking forever. So this is a plea I have to the Civ community. I mean, if there is something that I'm missing about playing on Standard, tell me. I have an open mind, I'll consider it. But I really think This is one area where the community is just making a mistake by making an assumption that more opponents is better, when if you look at the actual meaningful impact it has on the meaningful portion of the game, it's really minimal compared to the huge drawback it has of needing to take hours and hours and hours of your life to finish a game. Like hours that you could have spent playing a whole new game of Civilization 6, just doing a mop-up job that is a foregone conclusion, but is a huge time-sucking chore. So I'm going to be playing on Tiny, which has a total of 4 players, me and 3 AIs, and I'm going to do Pangea here. I do think that there are some interesting options here. I think Inland Sea is really cool, so we'll definitely do one of those. But we'll do Pangea for the first time. I feel like it's a pretty pure version of the game. Navy in Civ 6 is pretty irrelevant anyway, because all units have the ability to embark, so you know, you don't really need a huge navy. So I think taking the boats and stuff out of the equation is fine. Now, for game speed, I'm going to go quick, just because, again, I just don't feel like there's much value for standard. Just like playing through, you know, 33% more turns, I don't really see what value that gives me. In a way, quick makes the game harder because your opponent will catch up to your tech lead more quickly. Like if once you get like a tech lead of, let's say, swordsmen versus warriors, you know, on a slow speed, your swordsmen are going to be there for ages and ages and ages, and you can just really just trundle around the map and clean up everything while you have those swordsmen. Whereas if you play on quick, you know, your AI opponents will get walls up faster, they'll get, you know, defenses up faster, and your units are not going to be around for as long, or they're not going to be dominant for as long. I don't know about online speed. This might actually be playable, where it's just double speed. That actually might be totally fine, but we'll just go ahead and stick with quick, because I know that that is something that works. For my civilization, as you already know from the title, I'm going to pick Germany for a few reasons. Number one, I think Germany is the strongest civ in the game. This has been pretty much the consensus on the forum, so I want to take some time to explain why that is. The other nice thing about Germany is that although Germany is incredibly strong, it does not have an early unit. One of the most warping things that a civ can have is a really strong early game unit, because most of the early game is going to be just kicking ass and taking names, and so having a nice unique unit early on can make things really helpful. What I think is cool about playing with Germany is that you get to show strength, but you also get to show what it's that, like, yes, you can actually still beat the game even if you don't have those really warping early game units, uniques helping you out. By the way, you might notice I'm talking a lot about stuff. In general, I'm going to do that. I'm a strategic board gamer. I play to win, so I'm going to be talking about a lot more strategy than most of the other Let's Plays that are out there. However, that'll be compensated for by the fact that since I'm playing on a tiny map with Pangea, and I'm going for the fastest victory type available to me instead of just, you know, playing SimCity for 5 hours, overall my videos are still going to be shorter, and I hope that you'll appreciate that some of the time is spent on actual strategy instead of just like pointless clicking for 500 turns. Anywho, so here is the deal with Germany. They're the strongest civ in the game right now because in Civ 6 production is king. In the previous Civ games it was always science, but in this game science is no longer the king. The reason for that is a fewfold. Number one, you increase science naturally as your empire grows in population. So even if you never build a single campus, and in fact, I'm probably never going to build a single campus in this game, you're still going to have a really respectable scientific output. That's not to say you should never build campuses, but the amount that campuses offer to you in science is not that significant, and it becomes less and less significant as the game goes on. The other problem is that, as you may have noticed when playing your own games, districts scale in cost. So as the game goes on, districts get more and more expensive. And a few people figured out what causes that increase in cost, and it's actually not the turn time or how many districts you've built, but it's actually how far along you are in the tech and civic tree. So each tech and each civic that you unlock makes districts more expensive. You can actually see this in some of Quill18's videos that were made before the game was properly released when he had the preview build. He went hardcore for science. His science output was crazy, and his districts were monumentally expensive and took forever to build. The reason for that is that he went so far down the science tree that the districts became more expensive, and he didn't have enough production to actually make them. Whereas if you play with a sort of a low science, low culture strategy, and you're not just speeding down the civic and science trees, you're going to find that districts have a perfectly reasonable cost, and you can build them all game long. So science is no longer king. Instead, what's important is to have as much production as possible, because with the scaling cost of the districts and all these buildings to build inside the districts, you really need to have good production in your cities to actually get going. Just making it further down the tech tree doesn't do you any good if you can't actually build the stuff that you're researching. And Germany has a unique version of the industrial zone. That single-handedly makes Germany one of the strongest civs in the game, because as you probably know, unique districts, in addition to whatever bonuses they have, they build at half the time, because they have half the production cost, and they do not count against the district limit. So Germany can have an industrial zone in every single one of its cities at no cost other than opportunity cost. And what's cool about the Hansa, the unique version of the industrial zone, is that it actually provides bonus production based on certain factors, like being next to commercial hubs. We'll take a look in the Civilopedia when the game opens. So, Germany not only has the ability to build an industrial zone in each of its cities, but the unique bonuses of this industrial zone are actually meaningful. They add to production even more. This is different from someone like Peter the Great. So Peter, where are you, Peter? He gets a unique, Russia gets a unique version of the Holy Site. But the unique version of the Lavra is that, like, when you use a great person in the city, it expands the border by one space, so it's not actually relevant to faith or religion or anything. It's just, like, the main strength of it is that you can get a Holy Site in all of your cities. Unlike that, Barbarossa, and Germany in general, if there's a different leader for Germany made someday, actually gets to put an industrial zone into each city and have more production because of the Hansa's unique bonuses. Now, that by itself would be enough to make Germany incredibly strong, but Germany gets even more stuff. So Germany also gets free imperial cities here, which is that each city can build more than one more district than usual based on its population cap. That's really strong because basically, compared to a Civ that does not get a unique district, Germany has 2 extra districts per city, one from the free imperial cities and one from the Hansa. That's crazy for a couple of reasons. Number one, districts are amazing. Number two, districts, on top of all the amazing stuff they do, they actually improve the yields of your internal trade routes. Every district that you put into a city increases either the food or the production for each trade route that is sent to that city, for the city from where the trade route originates. So not only does Germany get the benefit, like the direct benefit of having more districts, but Germany also gets an indirect benefit from the fact that because all their cities have extra districts, the trade routes are all better, so Germany is also getting more food and more production in all of its cities from having tons of trade routes. So that's very, very strong. Now the U-boat is totally irrelevant, of course, like all late game units, but who cares? And then Barbarossa's ability is the Holy Roman Emperor. He gets an additional military policy slot, which is obviously nice, and +7 strength when attacking city-states. And that's actually not irrelevant. A good strategy is if you do have a city-state near you is to take it over, because whatever bonus that city-state gives is not as meaningful as having an extra, already somewhat well-developed city. So you'll want to be conquering the city-states as any Civ, and as Germany, you'll be able to do it way more easily because +7 combat strength is huge. So, all that is why Germany is currently one of the strongest Civs in the game. And what's nice about this game that we're going to play right here is that we're going to, I'm going to actually mute Sean Bean's narration so that I don't talk over him. One of the nice things about this game is, like I said, since Germany does not have a unique unit, we'll also get to see what it's like to, do combat fair versus the advanced AI. Obviously, the AI is not actually advanced. It's just that, it gets bonuses to production. On Emperor, it starts with all the AIs start with an extra settler. So, the AI just has mechanical bonuses against you, and so you'll see that how you can face up to that and use the AI's stupidity by fighting it with regular units. Okay, so that was it for the introduction. Let's go ahead and actually take the first couple of turns of this game. I actually won't have very long to go before we hit half an hour and I end up pausing, but let's go ahead and start. So when you make a settler, obviously the first thing that you want to do is see if you can improve your starting location somehow. One thing I like to do is see if I can move my warrior, and one thing you can do is you can ask yourself, what could I see with this warrior on my first move that might make me change my mind about where I'm going to settle the city? And here, the key thing is, if I settle the city here, this is not, hang on, let me turn on, I don't know why this is not default. I always play with turned on yields. So right here where I'm at, it's a decent spot. Once the forest is cleared away, I'm going to end up with, just the 2 food on this tile. Hang on, this is plain. So I'm going to have a food and a production, just like I would have here. However, here I am in closer reach of this 3 food floodplains tile, which would be nice to get to. Here I can get to it eventually, but it would take much longer. I'm equidistant from the wheat over here. Honestly, these 2 tiles are not that different from each other. So one thing I could do is move the warrior down this way to see if there's any like luxury or something down here that might make me want to start in this lower space as opposed to this higher one, because I could actually move here and found in the same turn. The other main option in this situation is to move the warrior up 2 spaces to see if there's something up here that might incline me to keep the city where it is. And so I think I'm more likely to find something up here because it's closer to the city than down here, because anything I find in this area would be farther from my starting location. So I think up here is more significant. And what we find is that, okay, there's actually a luxury resource and a bonus resource, and I might even consider taking a turn to move up. Now, if I move up, I'm going to get farther away from the stone and from the cow, both of which are resources I'd like to have earlier on. However, I would start right away with the jade, and I would be closer to getting the rice. I would also start off right off the bat with a 3 food tile, and I'd be next to a hill. Hills are very important because you need to improve your production in this game because production is so critical. And one problem I'm noticing here is I'm just not going to have that much production in my starting tile as far as I can see. There's food and there's some forest, which I can eventually put lumber mills into, but early on my production is going to be stymied by the lack of hills. So I think I am actually going to take a turn to move my settler. I could go here and get a spot that I know is good. I can also throw the dice and move to this forest. Maybe there's something over here that's good, or maybe there's not. In that case, I'd regret not being close to this 3 food tile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a turn actually to move over here and then have the 3 food inside my borders right away. And one thing I will say, I said this in my original video where I just explained how to play the game, is that in Civ 6, the starting tile for your settler is almost always just like a perfectly fine place to found a city. So if you just always found on spot, it's totally fine. Okay, main goal with this warrior right now, I want to find my neighbors. I want to find a city-state so I know who I'm going to conquer. I want to try to find the AI. There's a chance that you can actually conquer the AI pretty fast. If you jump on them with several archers, the AI tends to not build archers. So if you get a massive archers out quickly enough, you can take over even a computer opponent, not just a city-state. But I want to find those people, so we're going to go out here, see if they're there. A nice little stroke of luck. Actually going to have an extra luxury resource in this city eventually because I moved, so that is great. Now we're going to choose production, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the scout. I know this is sort of the standard plan. I'd love to say there's some, crazy benefit to be had for doing something else. I could consider maybe doing a warrior and using that to explore, even though it explores more slowly than the scout. It obviously can fight as well, but I feel like the scout comes out the soonest, it explores things the fastest, and exploring is just so helpful. You want to find city-states to conquer, you want to find the AI to conquer, you want to find goodie huts, you want to find other good places to settle cities. So there's just like a lot of things that you want to find, so scouting is just super helpful. I'm going to go here into the city real quick. I do like to just click on both the production focus and the food focus to make sure that the governor doesn't put the citizens on stupid tiles like this jade to give me a culture. And I think it is correct to actually just have this 3 food tile going on right away, because I could, of course, change it over here and get the scout out a little bit sooner. Actually, that might be the right move. Hang on. So 5 and 5 versus 4 and 7. You know what? I actually think this is the correct move initially. I'll probably want to put my second citizen there, but I'm totally fine with expanding the size 1 turn later in exchange for having a scout 2 turns earlier, because I think it's just so important to find your neighbors. Oh, and finding barbarian camps is important too. Okay, so now we're going to pick our first bit of research, and the interesting thing is that while this is a luxury, I'm not necessarily in a rush to upgrade it because its output isn't actually going to be that great. I'm not actually sure what jade gives. Let's take a quick look here of what jade gives when you improve it with a worker. Improved by mine. Okay, but does the mine entry tell you what it does? I guess it's probably just going to be 1 + 1 production because it's a mine. So this would be like a 2 food, 1 production, 1 culture space, which isn't like that great. It's just about as good as these forests that I have naturally. So I'm not that concerned about getting mining, which means that since I don't really need that, we're just going to go ahead and beeline archery. And this is another thing that I find people mess up. Every other Let's Play I've watched, they'll do this thing where they like make a slinger and they'll send it around trying to get this Eureka boost. And here's the thing. If you do that, you are going to research your tech tree faster overall, but you will get archery more slowly. Like, this is 33 science, so the Eureka is worth, 16 or 17 science. And getting that science is useful, but if you spend like 10 turns to kill something with a slinger, then you would have been faster if you had just gotten the science, investing in archery all the way through. And getting archery as quickly as possible is really, really important because archers are what you need to quickly take over the neighboring city-states and sometimes even a neighboring AI. Anyway, the warrior, it's tough. I can move more spaces total on the flat land here and explore east, but I'm kind of curious to see what is actually up here to the north, so we're going to do that. And my gamble pays off huge because I find a city-state, and I'm definitely going to be conquering these people. This is a pretty abysmal location, unfortunately, because it's one off. It's like not next to a river. So it would have been great if it had been like one space over. Still though, they've got horses over here. They've got some decent tiles. This will probably be a quarry by the time I conquer it. There's a decent chance for that. And of course, horses will be nice. So I can use horsemen. Horsemen are better than swordsmen for the most part. So being able to get horses, strategic resources are very rare in general, is really, really nice. So we'll be conquering them pretty much ASAP. I'm just basically going to make 2 or 3 archers, maybe 1 more warrior, and then go and just take these over. So I'm glad I went up here to find them. And what's cool is that in the meantime, I'm going to be getting +4 gold in the capital for a little while. This 4 gold is significant because gold helps you have more in your military. And I feel like the gold city-states are my favorite ones to have. But on a tiny map with few city-states, and as good as that gold is, it's just going to be more valuable to have a city here. So I'll enjoy it while it lasts, and then we'll try to hold off as long as possible, squeezing that extra 4 gold out for as many turns as we can. Alright, so now that I found that city-state, I'm perfectly happy to go west and see what I find, and then we'll send my scout kind of south and east. It's always a crapshoot, you know, choosing the direction that you choose to go exploring in. You never know if you're going to pick the right direction. I could have very easily just never found these if I had chosen to go west that one turn with my warrior. And I got actually really lucky here. I believe I found another continent. Yeah, there's another continent. A lot of times on a tiny map, you don't find another continent in time to get the inspiration for foreign trade, which makes it take just that much longer to get into political philosophy. So it's cool that I got that. That's very, very fortunate. All right, now I can move on over. There's actually another pair of horses here. So if I manage to get both of these horses, then I would not need encampments to build horse units. Remember, the way that strategic resources work is if you have 2 of a strategic resource, you can just make units that require it. If you have 1 copy of a strategic resource, you need an encampment in a city to produce units that require that resource. All right, my scout finished. Let's go ahead and send him exploring this way and choose production. So we're just going to go ahead and grab a slinger here and look forward to upgrading that to an archer when the time comes. Just to try to get archers as quickly as possible. All right, we found Japan. I am not going to tell Japan where my capital is. I've found that a lot of people just automatically play the friendly game. Here's the thing about the AI in Civ 6, though. The AI in Civ 6, when there's no warmongering penalties in the ancient area, will just attack you all the time. Just like all the time, they're going to bring a bunch of root units and rush you. And it's not that hard to fend off, but you can definitely make their life a lot harder if you just refuse to show them your capital. And you also refuse their delegations, and they don't know where your capital is. Oh, never mind, Japan. No, that's Germany. No. Whew, okay, I was being a little silly. I thought Japan just found my capital. I don't even know where Japan actually saw me, to be honest with you. But yeah, just don't show them your capital and don't accept their delegations because they're going to be assholes to you anyhow. So yeah, we're just going to research archery right now. So sure, if I waited for the Eureka, I could do this in like 4 turns. But it's going to take way longer than 4 turns for me to get a slinger, find a unit, and kill it. So I will have archery sooner if I just research it without the Eureka. All right, my warrior, I'm going to go ahead and try to impede the scout a little bit. Do not chase scouts. This is like a rule of thumb in Civ 6. Don't chase scouts with warriors. You're never going to catch them. But what you can do is you can impede them. So now this scout can't go here and it can't go there because either of those is going to be in my zone of control and it won't be able to keep moving. So if I do this, it makes it less likely the scout finds its way to my capital and maybe he'll turn and go somewhere else. Okay, I have a feeling this is all just coast, but I'm going to go here anyway. Yeah, so we got coast on this side, which is nice. So it's like one place I don't need to care about exploring. I could actually explore up here, though. It's possible Japan came from here. Very possible. But I'm going to wheel my scout back around this way, see if there's any barbarian camps. Or maybe if Japan did come from the southwest. Okay, so I could extend my warrior further north. Or I could obviously send him down into this area. It'll be a while before my scout comes up through. But the scout will come up there eventually. So that's one reason to maybe send the warrior north. This also keeps the warrior in closer proximity to Jakarta, which I will eventually be taking over. So yeah, we're gonna just go up here. All right, I think the scout can actually move the full 3 spaces. All right, there's a goody hut there, tribal village. I have a hard time seeing these on the map, so I look for the notifications to find them. Down here, unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything super great. So if you turn on the settler lens, there's no fresh water over here or anything. And there's no mountains for aqueducts either. So this all is unfortunately kind of a crappy place to build cities. I mean, if I build a city down here to get jade, a second copy of it, for instance, I'd pretty much just be doing that to get the jade, and the city would build up very slowly. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Do I go up one more time before I go over? Yeah, let's just go up here. See if I can maybe get lucky with another city-state. This might be a good place for a city later with 2 copies of ivory and the horses. Like from a city right here, I could get all of that. And then the bananas are a pretty decent tile for production as well. Also, this forest on a hill, even though it doesn't have any resources on it, there's 2 forests on hills, which are just really spectacular because they give 3 production and 1 food, and then that gets even better when you put a lumber mill on them. All right, so the scout, I think, I'm just going to run into the forest. I could have actually made it to this wheat tile. Okay, so while this over here... Oh my god, I'm sorry, I forgot to get the goody hut. Let me queue up that move so I will fall behind a little bit. See, I'm going to go ahead and reject the delegation because this doesn't tell Japan where my capital is, so he's going to have a harder time launching his surprise attack. I'm going to close this for the time being. I want to make sure I get this goody hut. Oh, that's actually great. Wow, that's like the luckiest thing that could have happened is I got a Eureka 4 archery without actually, doing any of this crap. I now have to very strongly consider changing my build queue because if I finish this slinger, then what happens is I can spend some gold to upgrade him to an archer, but if I just hold off until I finish getting archery, I could finish it and it would be an archer right away instead of a slinger. So I can put a couple of turns into something else of importance, like a builder, which I will eventually want to improve craftsmanship. Or to get the Eureka for craftsmanship. So I need mining for both of these. So mining is what I'm going to get next. Will I get mining in time for the builder? Let's take a quick look here at the tech tree. So mining takes 5 turns. Builder takes 8. So yes, it actually will happen because the builder takes 8. And I'm going to have to finish up this slinger/archer at some point. Yeah, alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the slinger go for 1 more turn. And then once I get to 1 turn away from archery, then I'll switch from the slinger, put a turn into the builder, finish the archer, finish the builder, and then I'm going to try to improve 3 tiles. That's actually going to be kind of tricky because the builder's going to need to spend a lot of turns moving across the river and stuff. When you move across the river in your capital, though, I don't believe it actually costs a turn. So this will be like move and improve in 1 turn, 1 turn to move, 1 turn to move and improve. And then it's going to take a whole bunch of turns to get back to this place and build a farm here. So I think, though, that between the time it takes me to research foreign trade and then craftsmanship is a long time as well, I feel like I'll be able to make it in time. So anyway, let's go ahead and do some policies. Obviously, as Germany, we can get both of the starting military slots, which is nice. And we have to choose between getting bonus production or getting bonus faith and gold. Faith and gold, of course, is garbage compared to getting a bonus production. The main reason to get it, though, is so that you can get your Pantheon. The thing about Pantheons is there's one that's really, really great early on. It's the one that gives you, what's her face? It gives you 25% bonus to building the ancient and classical units. We're going to be warmongering pretty heavily there, so we'd want that Pantheon. Unfortunately, the AI seems to like it a lot. So the other stuff in there that I think is good is like the one that gives you faster border expansion. We're obviously not going for a religious victory. It's hard to do that. It's such an annoying victory to pull off compared to domination. So I don't really care about the ones that give bonus faith or whatever. So I could get the faster bonus border expansion. That's definitely nice, but this gold's value is reduced because I'm going to have lots of turns of extra gold from the city-state. I was very lucky to find a commercial city-state near me. So because I'm getting all this extra gold 4 per turn, it really dwarfs the value of God King, and I don't think the Pantheon is worth it. So we're going to go ahead and put urban planning in here, and either just never get a Pantheon because the bonuses are really trivial, or try to get some kind of tangential source of faith for a time and get a Pantheon that way, or just put God King in later on and get a Pantheon that way. But I really don't care that much if I don't get it, because again, the bonuses are pretty minor, and I feel like getting my production up faster, and early in the game, of course, +1 production makes a difference. It's worth it. In fact, right now, it seems to have made a really huge difference. +1 production means I'm actually going to finish the Slinger in 1 turn. So I've got to make a really tough choice here. Do I want to finish the Slinger and then pay gold to upgrade it, or do I want to just start building something else and then finish it as an archer? I'm going to finish it as an archer, because even though that means it's going to have less time in the world, gold is important. I am going to want my gold later on. Every bit counts, like, you know, needing to purchase tiles in your cities to be able to get the district space that you need, or the wonder space that you need, or just the right tile. And then, of course, paying upkeep for your units, buying units, all that stuff's really important. So I want to save gold where I can. We're going to put a couple of turns into a builder, and then go for pretty much like archer, and then I'm going to squeeze a settler in at some point, and just go military after that. Okay, so this warrior's got to make a choice. How much can I really explore with this warrior before I have to circle back and help in the fight against Jakarta? It seems like there is a bunch of stuff up here, though, so I'm going to just go all like in a heavy curve around here and then swoop in on Jakarta from the north. Also haven't found any barbarian settlements. A warrior can take on a barbarian encampment all by itself, so if I found one, I would just sit there and do that. Alright, so this scout, can travel the full 3 spaces. Let's do that. So back he goes. Kind of sucks that he's stuck on the opposite side of a river. That definitely diminishes how much he can do next time. Okay, so we got archery, which means we got to do a couple things before we forget. First of all, we're going to go here, and, well, I gotta actually think about this. So I could finish an archer now. The thing is that, oh, hey, wow, I don't know my game mechanics. I thought that since I had put some time into the Slinger, that it would actually let me finish as an archer, and I feel like it used to do that, but maybe that changed. So yeah, well, clearly what I did was just a terrible choice, because I just spent turns investing into a Slinger, and those turns are completely wasted. So the right thing to do would have been to finish the Slinger and cough up the gold to upgrade it to an archer. So that was one of those weird things where, like, the really lucky Eureka boost for archery ended up causing me to make a mistake. Well, anyway, take that, people who say this is just a Facebook game. This game has a pretty high skill cap, and you really do need to know your rules. So here, my lack of knowledge about the way that having a unit in progress that is overridden by research you unlock, I did not know how that worked, and that really bit me. Okay, well, at this point, since I don't need an archer to take out any barbarian camps, I might as well finish the builder and just get it out of the way, and then we'll start building archers after that. So to prepare for this builder, we're going to need mining, and then after that, we don't need any tech to farm on grassland, so mining is all I'm going to need. Mining is something I'd want anyway, because I am going to want the encampment from bronze working pretty soon. Alright, I think we're going to go ahead and pause here. Let me just go ahead and move the scout across the river. So there he goes. The warrior wanders deeper into the woods. Got some tobacco and sheep up here, which is nice. We're going to pause here before hitting clicking next turn. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe. And delayed a little bit by those turns I wasted on the Slinger, we're still going to come back next time and hopefully build enough archers to take over Jakarta. I'll see you guys again soon. Take care.